Before we jump into episode 14, I want to give a shout out to anybody that's struggling with depression or anxiety or any type of mental health impairment. If you need somebody to talk to, please message me on any of my social media platforms, or you can email me at fitnessforeveryperson@gmail.com. I would love to talk to you. I would love to build your confidence up. If you need help right this second, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. And I want to read one of the quote cards off of my wall in my little office here. I keep these posted to remind myself of like what great, powerful thinkers were thinking. So this is by John Kabat-Zinn. Quote, "You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf." The Avidity Fitness Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 14. It is Saturday, August 1st, 2020. It's a really rainy morning down here in Southeast United States. But we're getting after it. I got up really early this morning. I made some breakfast, made some bacon and eggs, some avocado and some sauerkraut. Had some coffee, took my vitamins, been drinking water. Now I'm hopping on the podcast, going to talk about some mindfulness today. I think it's a really important aspect, maybe not an aspect of like training, but a vital thing that we need to do for ourselves in life in general, not even for our like physical fitness training, but just for life in general, for overall health, physical, mental, spiritual, all of that. See, my theory is that like now in 2020, a lot of us, especially, my age group, I'm 26, and my whole life we've had stimulation, like instant stimulation at our fingertips. So it was really easy to escape like reality, the reality of like your existence, right? You could just hop into a TV show with the click of a button. Like movies were really accessible, becoming really accessible. Like now they're, even easier than turning on a TV show was back when I was a kid, and I'm not even that old. So like the amount of ways we can unplug from what's really going on in our life has just doubled, tripled, quadrupled over the years, right? It's just grown exponentially. So this whole time, like growing up, we all have an easy way to forget about like what's bothering us or anything, not even what's bothering us, but sometimes what makes us happy. Like we don't even really realize it sometimes because we're so stuck in a TV show or a video game, or, we're trying to go, back when I was a kid, like I was just always trying to be outside with people, which is a good thing. But at the same time, like I was always trying to be with people. So like I never took time to just sit with myself really and like internally like self-reflect on the way everything has affected me, right? And I know for me in like the Western way of medicine and stuff, like I was never taught to really sit back and contemplate on like if I had a bad day, like what caused the bad day? Why do I feel so angry and sad or whatever? But now we're grown. I don't know anything. I'm not a child expert. I don't have kids, so like I'm just speaking on kind of how it was for me and how I think it might be for a lot of people, especially my age. Is like we always just had the ability to forget about what was bothering us and you know, just grab our phones or turn on the TV, whatever, and constantly flipping through social media pages and stuff and looking at other people and never really actually slowing down and stopping to think about like you. So now we're adults, and I think it's even more important now because we have to, peel back a lot of this the darkness from our past and a lot of misunderstandings that we may have like been burying or running from. And I'm no therapist, disclosure. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not licensed in anything like that. But, I am licensed in my life, and I understand what it's like to look at yourself and really face the problems that you've been causing. Or maybe you haven't been causing them, but maybe somebody else has been causing them, but you've been allowing it. Like that it's time to do that once you become an adult, and especially when you're getting started in your fitness journey. Like that's what I want to tie that to for my theory, is that it all starts in the mind, right? Like literally everything. Like your brain is a series of neurons and stuff, and like those process information through electrical pulses. So like you don't move your arm without thinking. You have to, your brain, the neurons in your brain have to send that electrical pulse. So everything you do, even breathing, you don't think about it like consciously, but subconsciously in your brain there are neurons electrically sending information to your diaphragm and your lungs and esophagus, mouth, all that is entailed in taking a breath of oxygen and breathing out carbon dioxide, right? CO2, carbon dioxide, right? Listen to me, some type of scientific expert. So everything starts in the brain, no matter what. And if you go 26 years of your life never really exploring like why you don't like yourself or why you don't think highly of yourself, and you're just hiding that with, just for an example, because it's a common thing, you're hiding it with food. Like food is an instant um gratification. It's instant dopamine released. It tastes good, it's satisfying, it's satiating. So it's survival. Everything about food makes a human feel good, especially if it's delicious food, right? Delicious cheeseburgers, delicious whatever stuff that you should only be eating every once in a while, if ever. So but it's amazing, right? It immediately makes you feel better until like the next day, maybe, or 10 years from now when you haven't been able to kick the habit of making yourself feel better with worse food. And then now you're like really starting to get overweight or have joint issues or chronic headaches or, whatever your issue is with eating low quality foods just to feel better. And it's not just food. Like I think this goes hand in hand with like drug addictions, any type of addictions, addicted to the phone, even stuff that isn't as harmful for your body or whatever, like reading. There's some people that will just read books nonstop until they don't get anything done because they're depressed about whatever job they're working at, or they're single, their girlfriend left them, they can't find a girlfriend, so they're just stuck in these what do you call them, fiction books, right? That's the ones that aren't real. They're stuck in these fiction books, they're stuck in a fantasy world, they're trying to run away from the reality that they live in. They don't want to think about it, and because it's painful. Sometimes looking at the problems in your life is really painful. So we have these outlets, we have these escape hatches that we're constantly pulling on to get out of the way of discomfort. And I think that builds really bad habits, and that stuff starts to compound over years and years and into your adulthood, and then on into your, middle ages, like your 40s and stuff. I think that's the reason why a lot of people, or anybody that's like bitter, you run across bitter people that you can tell, like, okay, maybe they were having a bad day, but I don't think so. I think that they're really just like that. I think that they're just angry and like full of like judgment and hate and ego, really. Like they can't let go of that ego. They self-identify with the pain, with everything that makes their attitude or what they are, right? So for me, I truly believe that like looking at yourself, looking at what is causing you pain, looking at uh how everything you do in your day to day affects your emotions, affects your mood, affects the way you move, because it all starts in the brain. So how you're processing the information around you, and information not meaning just words or numbers that you read, information as everything, every stimulus, every intake that you have, like driving, what it feels like to be in traffic, what you're feeling, the energy at your job, like the way your coworkers make you feel while you're there, um the way you're thinking about your place in your family or your friend circle, all of that, the way you handle all of that information in your head is crucial. And slowing down a little bit every day to really look at that type of stuff and reflect on it and clean that mirror a little bit, I think is like the first step to growing in your fitness journey, your overall journey, but especially your fitness journey. Because if you're down on yourself, if you're having insecurities or pain, uh, like stuff that's causing pain, like you want to go to the gym, but you're scared to get judged while you're there, and then that's bringing up painful memories of when kids used to make fun of you because you were fat in high school or something. Like you have to look at all of that stuff in the face, and that will help you overcome it and build confidence, and then that will build better habits and better health overall. Like it will get you healthier for sure. The more mindful you are with the way you are understanding the world around you and who you are and how you deal with it, it it will create massive, massive growth mentally and physically. I truly believe that. And now, see, that's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. Nobody can convince me otherwise. I mean, I guess you could, maybe, but see, I believe in that stuff because I've done it myself. Like that's what's helped me. But for doing this podcast, I wanted to look some stuff up, see if we have, and I know we have stuff because I understand, like back in like ancient India and stuff, the Buddhist and their yoga and meditative practices. I'm no expert or historian on that stuff, but I do have like a basic understanding that like it's real, like it's a real way of life. And if you know anything about like those monks and stuff, they're some of the most peaceful people on the planet, and they're broke. Like, well, from an American standpoint, I guess you would say they're broke, but if you ask them, they're not broke. They're not worried about money at all. Take an American, your average American out, like your average financial industry worker, pull him out of his normal daily life and tell him he's got no money and he's just got to like live like in a little temple with not much technology. He's gonna go crazy. He's gonna lose his mind. So those Buddhists know something that us stupid Americans don't. And don't give me any hate. I don't hate America. It's just a joke. Like a lot of us are, like even me. I was dumb to this for a long time until I started doing it myself and figuring out that like this really does have power. So anyway, I found this article on psychcentral.com. It is by written by Christopher Shia. Christopher Shia is a certified addiction counselor and life coach who has worked as a clinician, clinical director, and administrator for more than 20 years. He is the founder of Life's Journey Life Coaching and a published author who presents at seminars and conferences around the country. And he's currently a professor at Towson University and the director of campus ministry at St. Mary's Riken High School. And it looks like he's written a bunch of articles. Uh, So yeah, it's on psychcentral.com. And I read a little bit of it earlier. I thought it was really interesting. It's like the history, a brief history on what mindfulness is in the USA and its impact on our lives. Let me get some water. Quick water break. If you're listening right now, um, remember hydration is very important. So get your water. If you don't have any with you, I urge you to go find some, like right this second. And we're gonna chug a little bit of water real quick to hydrate. I don't know if you heard that. Oh, that's delicious. Episode number 10, hydration. You guys go check it out because Americans are chronically hydrated and it's summertime. Anyway, back to regular schedule programming. This is the article on mindfulness by Christopher Shea. As a counselor, it is unfortunate that I wasn't provided any formal education to prepare me to use mindfulness in a clinical setting. But after becoming personally aware of mindfulness and its theories, I realized that throughout my time with clients, I was naturally using mindfulness techniques all along. Historically, the arrival of mindfulness to the U.S. is attributed to John Kabat-Zinn. Kabat-Zinn is professor of medicine emeritus and creator of the Stress Reduction Clinic and the Center for Mindfulness in Medicine, Healthcare, and Society at the University of Massachusetts Medical School. Kabat-Zinn was first introduced to the philosophy of Buddhism while he was a student at MIT. Later in 1979, he founded the Stress Reduction Clinic at the University of Massachusetts Medical School, where he adapted Buddhist teachings on mindfulness and developed the Stress Reduction and Relaxation Program. Okay, so in 2019, he wrote his definition is, quote, mindfulness is the psychological process of bringing one's attention to the internal and external experiences occurring in the present moment, which can be developed through the practice of meditation and other training. And according to Robert Sharf, I don't know who that is, but according to him, quote, the Buddhist term translated into English as mindfulness originates in the Pali term sati and in its Sanskrit counterpart smrti. Smrti originally meant, quote, to remember, to recollect, and to bear in mind. And slati, the original Pali term, is an awareness of things in relation to things, and hence an awareness of their relative value. Sati is what causes the practitioner of yoga to remember that any feeling he may experience exists in relation to a whole variety or world of feelings. So it's a collective, like everybody feels the same experiences that you're feeling, maybe not in the same exact way, but it's all collective. And whether they may be skillful or unskillful, with faults or faultless, relatively inferior or refined, dark or pure. So no matter if you're feeling good or bad, you're not alone, is what it's saying. Um, and it's all inside of you. Like if you're feeling bad, it's like that's because you're like telling yourself you're bad. You know, that's separate from like a real illness or something like that. If we compare the above understanding of sati to another earlier definition of mindfulness, yeah, blah blah blah. Recent interests have emerged from studying the effects of mindfulness on the brain using neuroimaging techniques, physiological measures, and behavioral tests. A recent Harvard study showed that through meditation, a mainstay of mindfulness, the brain was able to create new gray matter. Increased gray matter density in the hippocampus, known to be important for learning and memory, and in structures associated with self awareness, compassion, and introspection, was discovered in this study. Quote, it is fascinating to see the brain's plasticity, and that by practicing meditation, we can play an active role in changing the brain and can increase our well being and quality of life. And that's quoted by Britta Holzel. She was the first author of the paper and research fellow at university in Germany. And that's amazing to me. Like, they have literal like brain imaging studies that show and prove that through mindfulness, self-reflection to like the way everything is in your universe, it literally increases the gray matter density in the hippocampus. And like that's the area of the brain that learns and holds memories. So you can learn better. You think you're stupid. I used to think I was stupid, but I'm not, and you're not. Like, you got to look inside and realize that you're not stupid. And the by the process of looking inside to see that you're not a stupid person, you're actually increasing your ability to learn and your ability to remember that you're not a stupid person. Like, I don't know, man. I just think this stuff is so cool, and they don't teach this stuff in school. They really don't. Um, And it goes on to quote, says other studies in different patient populations have shown that meditation can make significant improvements in a variety of symptoms, and we are now investigating the underlying mechanisms in the brain that facilitate this change. Oh man, this is powerful stuff. It's I'm gonna plug all these links to these articles and stuff so you can go and read them for yourself if you want, because it's just awesome. It's amazing. Amazing. And it goes on to say right here, the Harvard study is but one of many studies and research on mindfulness and its effectiveness in clinical settings. Research data not only proves efficacy, but shows that mindfulness is not a fad. Centuries ago, Buddhists understood the transforming power of mindfulness, and today, through scientific research, we can confirm that the Buddhists were correct. Not only, like, this is probably one of the most updated. This was wrote in 2018, so just 2 years ago. So all these studies, the neuroimaging studies, these are relatively new. But talking about the science that we have now, and the research data that we can do proves that the Buddhists centuries ago were correct. Reminds me of the Swami Rama. And if you don't, I think I talked about him in the last episode. Honestly, I can't remember if I talked about him, but he's a guru of yoga and he's a fascinating guy. I'm no historian on him either, but I know a little bit about it, some of the stuff that he did. He I know that he had the knowledge of like ancient text of like the Buddhist and like yoga ways of like mindfulness and meditation. And he held some title. I don't know how to say the name of it, but I guess it's like like a, I don't even know what it is. It's like a teacher, like a divine teacher. I like the head of the monasteries and stuff. It was like a big position to have in his religion and stuff. And so he held like this ancient knowledge, but he lived in modern times. So like modern medicine got to do actual studies on him at the Menninger Foundation in Topeka, Kansas. And that was like back in the 70s. And that was like one of the first like psychological I think it was like the first like, let me see, right here it says it was a school of psychiatry. But anyway, I don't know that much about them anyway. But right here it says during a series of biofeedback experiments in 1970 1971, Dr. Elmer and Dr. Alice Green observed that Swami Rama could produce different brain waves at will, including theta and delta sleep waves, while remaining aware of his environment. So he was like asleep, but still like able to interact, and he was like asleep and awake at the same time. And he could do that whenever he wanted to. He voluntarily stopped his heart from pumping blood for 17 seconds. The experiments were surprised that The experimenters were surprised that instead of actually stopping his heart, the Swami had actually increased its speed to 300 beats per minute, and that it was not pumping any blood since the ventricle had stopped and the atria merely fluttered. The effect on the circulatory system was thus the same as if the heart had completely ceased to beat, and he did that at will. In another experiment at the same location, he was able to create a temperature differential of 10 degrees Fahrenheit between the two sides of his palm. So like one half of his palm was 10 degrees cooler than the other half of his palm. And that's freaky stuff through the power of his mind. Like, what? Um, and so like that's just off of Wikipedia, and I didn't want to just go off of them. I wanted to actually read a little more in depth. And here's an article on ScienceDirect.com by Stephen Parker in Progress in Brain Research 2019. So this was fairly recent. It says, Introduction. In 1969, Swami Rama of the Himalayas arrived in the United States and was first introduced to Dr. Elmer and Alice Green of the Meninger Foundation. They had well-equipped laboratory designed to investigate voluntary control of psychophysiological processes. In their initial discussions, as they described their work, Swami Rama decided that this was a place to realize his master's ambition, that the abilities manifested by a masterful practice of yoga be documented scientifically. He demonstrated an array of abilities, including simultaneously raising and lowering temperature in adjacent muscles by 10 degrees Fahrenheit, placing his heart in such rapid arterial fibrillation that his heart stopped pumping blood for several minutes, manifesting telekinesis in an environment carefully controlled for the motion of air and for electromagnetic forces, spontaneously creating cysts under his skin, and also voluntarily entry into alpha, theta, and delta brainwave states. One of these involved a demonstration of a yoga practice called Yoga Nidra, conscious entry into deep non-REM delta wave sleep. He was connected to let me try to pronounce this, electroencephalogram. Electroencephalogram. And Swami Rama then entered into a delta wave state where he was creating delta waves almost exclusively during the period. I need to be able to do that. During the period of the experiment, two technicians were quietly talking in the room. When he resumed ordinary waking awareness after the experiment, Swami Rama recounted that conversation verbatim. This illustrated the criterion. He articulated that in addition to being focused on his inward state, he also remained aware of his external environment. There is no current explanation in neuroscience for his ability to do this. He goes on to talk about right here, one of his close disciples, Swami Veda. He set out to replicate his master's experiments at the Institute for Noetic Sciences in California in 2006 under the experimental leadership of Dr. Dean Radin. During these trials, in addition to duplicating Swami Rama's experiment, Radin accidentally discovered that Swami Veda remained almost perpetually in a state of yoga nidra. So meaning he was like perpetually in a state of awake and asleep. His brain producing theta and delta waves, even with his eyes open, talking and moving around. Again, there is no neurological explanation for the possibility of this. Swami Veda subsequently published a small book about his personal experiences and experiments with yoga nidra, which actually began from the age of 3, even though he did not recognize it as such at the time. Crazy stuff, you know, like we're just now getting to study this type of stuff. And over here on the other side of this article that I'm reading, it's like all of these scientific studies that they're doing now to try to like understand how they're doing this stuff. And I'm not going to get into all of that, but I mean it's deep. It's over here talking about uh the third stage involves the circuitry of the glutamatergic projections of the amygdala and NAC from the prefrontal cortex, orbital, medial, and cingulate nuclei, and from the basolateral amygdala condition cues. The withdrawal stage not only involves the neural circuitry of the positive reinforcing effects of drugs, but also involvement of the brain's stress response systems. See, I don't know what they're talking about over there. So we'll stay over here with the normal speech, regular English. Oh, there's something else. Good. Okay, so it goes on to say this willingness has been greatly aided by the more recent investigations of meditation and mindfulness in collaboration with Buddhist practitioners. The most obvious example of which is being Mind and Life Institute collaboration begun by several neuroscientists in collaboration with the Dalai Lama and the community of Tibetan Buddhist monks. From this collaborative beginning, research on meditation and the nature of consciousness has mushroomed the sense of the sweep of this work over a somewhat longer and more general historical perspective. See this study, and it's a study by Walsh and Shapiro. It greatly added to our understanding of a number of systems within the brain and nervous system. It also contributed enormously to the understanding of psychotherapeutic healing processes, particularly regarding the healing of depression, anxiety, and trauma, and so that they have immediate practical applications in psychotherapeutics. That's powerful stuff. If you heard like a little skip in the speech, it's because my mic went out again. I don't know why it does that. It did that a few episodes ago, but we're gonna move right along to uh this article on the U.S. National Library of Medicine, National Institutes of Health.gov. I've used this site before. They have a lot of medical manuscripts and articles that are free to review and read over. And this one is The Effects of Mindfulness on Psychological Health, a review of empirical studies. It's really long. I started reading it this morning when I was drinking my coffee, and I got like 15 minutes in, and I was like, how long is this thing? So I started scrolling, and I was like, I wasn't even close to halfway through. So I didn't read it all, but it is really extensive. They do all types of mindfulness studies on people of all types of issues, like uh, a, a sense of a loss of control and spiritual experiences, distress, anxiety, depression, loss of empathy, medical symptoms, relapses, metacognitive awareness, social adjustments, all types of stuff. It's they got 207 reference points at the bottom of the article, and probably more than half of those are actual documented studies. So this is a very in-depth article. And I'm just going to read the conclusion because it's really juicy. It's got good stuff in it. It says, conclusion, based on an examination of empirical literature across multiple methodologies, this review concludes that mindfulness and its cultivation facilitates adaptive psychological functioning. Despite existing methodological limitations within each body of literature, there is a clear convergence of findings from correlational studies, clinical intervention studies, and laboratory-based experimental studies of mindfulness, all of which suggest that mindfulness is positively associated with psychological health and that training in mindfulness may bring about positive psychological effects. These effects range from increased subjective well-being, reduced psychological symptoms and emotional reactivity, to improve regulation of behavior. There is also an increasingly substantial research body pointing to a number of psychological processes that may serve as key mechanisms of effects of mindfulness interventions. As research on mindfulness is in its early stages of development, further collaborative research is needed to develop a more solid understanding concerning the nature of mindfulness, how mindfulness can best be measured, fostered, and cultivated, and the mechanisms and the specificity of effects of mindfulness oriented interventions. Future research should also continue to explore other potential applications of mindfulness and examine practical issues concerning the delivery, implementation, and dissemination of mindfulness oriented interventions. Given the advances that have been made this far, it is likely that new paradigms for the understanding and application of mindfulness will continue to appear, which would move us further toward the goals of alleviating human psychological suffering and helping others live a life that is happier and more fulfilling. And that is powerful stuff. I highly encourage you, if you are not practicing mindfulness and meditation, at least a little bit every day, 5-10 minutes every day, to self-reflect and try to grow as a person overall. To start doing that today. It's August 1st. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? What are you waiting? You tell me. What are you waiting for? Message me. If you have a reason, a good reason on why you're waiting to start to try to look at that dirty mirror and start to wipe it clean, message me, please. I want to hear it. I want who you waiting for, huh? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to yell at you. Please don't get upset with me. I didn't mean to yell. I'm fired up because I haven't worked out this morning yet. And yeah, I'm gonna close this podcast down and I'm gonna get after it. So I hope you get after it today too. Every day is a beautiful opportunity to look at yourself and work on your issues. And on top of that, it's also a beautiful day. If you wake up in the morning or you wake up whenever, it's a beautiful time, a beautiful opportunity to be alive. So remember that. A lot of people don't get that chance. People die every day, too young, and didn't get to actually fulfill their destiny or become the person that they were capable of being. So on that note, I want to reread this last little part of this conclusion. And it says, helping others live a life that is happier and more fulfilling. That's it. That's the goal. That's what we're all here to do. I love you. Thank you for listening to episode 14 of the Avidity Fitness podcast. If you like what we're doing here, you like the brand and the message that we're trying to send, the community that we're trying to build, please check out some of the stuff that I got for sale. Just message me. I just support the brand. If you're digging it, hey, support the brand. Come on. I got some pins. They write in black. They're green. Avidity Fitness, Lifestyle, and Nutrition. So all you working guys, all you little businessmen out there, let me know because it's slick, man. And they're cheap, $3. And I got these stickers. They're awesome little cutout logo stickers. Put them on your Yeti. Put them on your Hydro Flask. Put them on your laptops. Put them on the fences around your neighborhood. Give them to your mom. Buy some for the family. Whatever, man. Let's all get into this thing together. That's it, man. Check out the YouTube channel. I got stuff coming. I know I keep teasing that, but yeah, I got stuff coming. I got some sun salutation videos that I'm gonna record here soon. I got some more guided meditations. I got some nutritional stuff that I'm gonna post up on there. So check me out. Check me out on my other social medias. And also if you want to subscribe to being a monthly listener on Anchor, you can do it for as low as $1 a month, 99 cents a month, so that's like $12 a year, and you can support and help this thing grow. The money goes back to like bills to keep this operation running, expenses for new equipment, upgraded equipment, and yeah, just keeping the lights on, honestly. So anything helps. Thank you guys. I love you. Go smash it today. I believe in you. It's time for you to believe in yourself. Go get it. Get it.